there is something that is just plain fun about rattling antlers. I've been doing it years and have been through a lot of different experiences with rattling. I've called some nice bucks in over the years, and have recently kind of come to the conclusion that in my area, I think rattling does more harm than good. It's a lot of fun when you're sitting in a tree stand and you're not seeing anything, and especially you're cold, you're bored. I'm gonna make something happen. So you bang the antlers together, and occasionally you'll call one in, but in my opinion, I think you actually do more harm than good. And I'm gonna tell you why. They sound great and everything when you're up in a tree, but to a deer, they just don't sound realistic. It doesn't sound like two big bucks fighting. When you hear big bucks fighting, generally you hear more noise of all the timber, brush crashing, trees breaking. It sounds like a truck driving through the middle of the timber, and that's the truth. I've only heard it once in 30 years of hunting, but it sounded so unbelievable. Deer came running from all directions, and it was quite obvious what it was. You could barely even hear the antlers, actually. All you could hear was really the crashing and the sound of hooves smashing on the ground. It was just insane. But you can't duplicate that. You can't duplicate that out of a tree stand. Not in the way that bucks hear it. When it comes to calling mature whitetails, you really have to consider what they have survived in order to reach that age that you're now targeting them at. And in a lot of cases, they've survived in the areas that you've been hunting them and calling at them. So if you think about whether a mature dominant deer is a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, up to a 10-year-old deer, whatever in your area, it doesn't matter. They've survived season after season, hunter after hunter, and encounter after encounter with hunters over the years. Think about how many times they've been rattled at, grunted at, called at by guys who didn't know what they were necessarily doing and educated those animals. And that's what you're up against. When I started killing these big mature deer, I had to look at how I was approaching it, both in the areas that I was hunting them, how I was accessing those areas, and specifically how I was calling once I got into those areas. You've got deer all around you in a stand. The worst thing that you can do is let the whole neighborhood know that you're there aggressively right out of the gate. You have to approach it much differently if you want to be successful at killing these ghost bucks. Part of the way that I've done it is by minimizing the amount of calling I'm doing, but doing it in a strategic way that sounds unlike any other hunter around me and sounds realistic. And it's all about realism if you want to get these big bucks to come toward your direction without being wary that you're a hunter in the process.